All right, y'all, I have a confession to make. So, when we did our review of how much we spent during our first month here in Bangkok, let's just say Brienne was not proud. She was not proud at all. And it's fascinating going from being a tourist to actually living here, and just the mindset shift that is required to not be like, oh my gosh, like a latte is only 5 USD, or oh my gosh, a 3-hour massage is only 150 USD. Like it is a very slippery slope to go down, where you're essentially bringing in Thai income and living the Thai lifestyle, but connecting it back to what it was like to be operating with USD as your currency. That was my biggest learning, but let's get into the numbers, because I want to share what life has looked like financially for us, with the caveat that we did not come out here saying like, oh, we want to go, live in Bangkok and live in I'm trying to be careful with my words, but live in a space where we're only paying 300 baht or we're only paying 500 baht a month. Like, while that would be cute, that comes with a very different kind of accommodation. And going back to what I had mentioned in the video earlier this week, there's a specific standard that we have. And I'll also add a caveat here, where I think if this caveat were not part of our reality, the numbers would look a lot different, especially on the housing front. But where I work is a huge component. Well, it's a big reason as to why we selected the neighborhood that we are in now. Yes, we wanted to be in the heart of the city. Yes, we wanted to be close to public transportation and all that jazz. But there's also the reality that I did not want to be spending, 30, 40, some of my coworkers spend over an hour in commute daily, just one way, not round trip. That was not going to be my testimony. So there is an element of like, we had to stay in the city center in order to ensure that that priority of mine was met. So we did all of this by hand, or not by hand, like not like carry the one, no, not like that. But essentially Darian created an Excel sheet for us to just get a baseline. The goal is not that we are going to be, keeping every single last receipt and, tracking every last dollar. We need to understand, okay, how much does it actually cost to live out here, based off of the lifestyle that we want to maintain / continue to evolve while we're here. Here, it's a lot more cash and a lot more of like a scan. So basically scanning, and when you scan in the bank accounts, what's cool is that you can essentially do your budgeting through there. So numbers, okay. For rent, so this is just for June. It is now August 1st, happy August. But for June, we spent, do this math, make sure it's right. Yep, 138,000 baht. Why? Because here in Thailand, we had to do the 2 months deposit whenever we actually moved in. So when we essentially wanted to claim the unit, we paid 1 month rent. And then when we actually moved in, 2 months deposit. So do the math, 138 divided by 2 is 69,000 baht a month. So we pay 69,000 baht per month for our 2-bed, 2-bath luxury condo in the heart of Bangkok. Some may say that is crazy. It is a bit pricey, but we actually had our agent negotiate. So this is actually after negotiating down by 6,000 baht per month. So we can afford it. Like, it's part of our conscious spending plan, and it is definitely, I will say, this is kind of goes back to the comparison piece. Like, you have to get out of the US mindset when you come here. So I had to just catch myself literally in the moment. So I'm not even going to finish that last statement. But we love it here. It feels very homey. These are some lilies I just got from the market earlier this morning that are already like, they were closed when I left the market like 2 hours ago, and now they're doing their thing. Now, utilities were lovely, so we don't pay for gas. There's no gas out here. Water was 105 baht, which is around 3 USD. Love that. And I was actually, yeah, water will be an interesting one to watch. So we'll continue sharing like monthly what our breakdowns look like. But when we first moved in here, I was working out every morning, 6 days out of the week. And then I was also, of course, coming home and showering. So I was showering twice a day. And we also had the plumbing issue that I had mentioned in previous videos. So that was a lot of like technicians coming in, running a ton of water and all that. Anyways, water was 3 USD, 105 baht. Now electricity, she was a bit high, I'm not gonna lie. She came in at 3,233 baht, which is around 97 USD. So yeah, electricity was a bit high. I think it was partially because of the AC running all the time. That's the only thing I can really think of, because we didn't have our adapters from the US, so we weren't plugging in like any high-powered appliances or anything like that. We have had the TV running from time to time, pretty often during the day, like just playing a Amapiano and setting the vibe, but we'll monitor that one, because 3,000 baht for electricity for a 800 square foot condo is quite steep in my opinion. So that was that. Now I'm not going to go through everything, but just like the high level typical stuff. Restaurants was a bit high, came up to 26,000 baht. Let's do some calculations here. 26,000 baht. Yeah, that was about 780 USD. We did eat out a lot. That first month. Partially, we didn't have our cooking appliances here, and we weren't trying to buy a whole bunch of pots and pans because we knew that our pots and pans were coming in the shipping container. So yeah, and we also were still in the USD mindset where it was like, dang, sushi is only like we ate so much sushi. And I think this was also before we started learning about the food courts in the I almost said hotels because they feel like it, but in the malls, where there's certain floors in the malls where you can still get like really high quality and tasty food for a fraction of the price that you would spend, you know, if you were in a sit down restaurant. By the way, y'all might be hearing a little noise. So this is actually our sprinkle machine. Well, this is our water dispenser, and we have sprinkle. I'll do a separate video on this just around like the conveniences of living here in Bangkok. But this is essentially what we use to get hot water, cold water, room temp water, because there are no like water dispensers like in the refrigerators like we have back in many of the houses in the US. And you also cannot drink the tap water directly from the pipe, which I wasn't doing that back in the US either. So solution is having a water dispenser. So Sprinkle comes every Friday, and they essentially give us 2 new 18.9 liter jugs of water that they literally pick it up at our front door and drop it off at our front door. It's great. So Sprinkle is something that like my coworkers put me on. I'm really glad that I had them, because otherwise it's just a lot of plastic water bottles that we would be going through if we didn't have that. So, and then we just fill up our handy dandy Stanleys. Oh wait, okay. Coffee. I mean, Brienne was drinking her coffee daily, at least once a day. So that came up to 5,100 baht, which is 153 USD. So honestly, 30 days. Yeah, 30 days in June divided by 30. It's not bad. As I said, we're looking at about $5 5 USD. One latte costing about 5 USD, which, as far as I'm concerned, we in business. So, and some of those coffee experiences were like I was getting a latte, Darian was getting a matcha, so I'm not too worried about that, but we have a solution. So, the first solution we thought was gonna be the end all be all ended up, moment of silence. So I won't get into the details, but long story short, when my Nespresso got here, I was super excited. We tested one of the outlets to make sure that it was an outlet that actually worked for the voltage for like US plugs. It worked for we had a candle warmer. Candle warmer worked fine. No spark, no nothing. Cool. We plug in the Nespresso immediately. And I just saw my life flash in front of my eyes. But fear not, thankfully they have Nespresso out here, and they have the very next BTS train stop is a Nespresso store with capsules. So I'll just be able to get my capsules down the street and keep it pushing. But the goal is that now I will just have one latte out and about during the day, like around my 1:30, 2 o'clock window, when I need that pick me up for the afternoon, and then I'll have my morning coffee at home. So you see, we're already adapting, okay? We're already clicking to this new reality and doing it in a way where we're intentional about where our money is going, and we're also intentional around where we do want to splurge. So the splurge is happening with the vacations. It's happening with the flights. Like, you can't unexperience the experience of flying first class internationally. So how do we ensure that, we're having those sinking funds where we can continue dripping money into those savings accounts so that by the time it's time to fly home in December, it's like, oh yeah, we could drop 5K on that flight. USD, by the way, each. So yes, that's the method behind the madness of this whole conscious spending plan. Now, transit is the last thing I'll really get into here, because I think that'll cover the big buckets of like housing, food, drinks. I don't really drink much out here, honestly. I probably drink like maybe once a week. And I also, to be fair, wasn't really going out drinking much in Raleigh either. But so Grab in June came up to $24.37, and then other transportation, which would have been we did have to take a van from the hotel we were staying at to our condo, because obviously we're not carrying 6 suitcases on the back of a bike. So I think that was like around 700 baht, even though it was literally like 3 miles. It's fine. And then the other transportation outside of that was like going on the BTS, the MRT, and just getting around on the trains. So if I do 2437 plus 1049, so 3,486 baht, which came up to around 105 USD. So that's actually really good. Like, all of the transportation that we did for a whole month coming up to 100 USD, and all of it being like not driving ourselves because we don't have a car or a scooter or anything, I can get behind that. It'll probably stay about the same because, still going into the office 3 to 4 days a week, and then going out to explore once either like Saturday or Sunday on the weekends, like that'll probably remain pretty steady. Oh, last thing, food delivery. So Grab Food came up to 67.49 for the month of June. This is something that we've also slowed down on quite a bit. When we first got here, we were ordering Grab all the time. So Grab came up to 202 USD, or 67.49 baht, which isn't bad. Could be better, but as we get more settled and we become more intentional around like doing what works for us, I think we'll start to see like spending, especially when it comes to dining out and coffee and all these food deliveries, like that'll definitely ease itself out a bit. So yeah, that is everything. I think it's been interesting going from Monarch, where everything was automated, where we had all of our accounts connected to the Monarch app. And so like between banking, checking account, savings account, credit cards, debit cards, investments, like everything was essentially in one spot, and it was so seamless to now having to like plug everything into the Excel sheet. I know it has been a bit cumbersome, but it's very temporary. Like we just need to get a sense of how much we're spending for each of these categories, maybe across like an average of 3 months. And then from there, we're like, all right, I can set up the budget in the K-Bank app, and then Darian can essentially like have, you know, his cash withdrawals or whatever for his spending. So if you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't touch on, I think like health, wellness, and personal, that came up to 20,000 baht, which she'd be going to the spa, honey. She'd be in, but it's such a part of like living out here. I don't believe that. I didn't spend $600 on them. I mean, yeah, I did, because you take into account nails, hair, massage, spa. What else? Scanning the body. Yeah. Okay. So 2,000. It was a little over 2,000 baht, which is around 600 USD. So, but still, like if I'm getting massages almost weekly, getting my nails done bi-weekly, getting my hair done. The one time I did my hair, it was like 200 USD. But yeah, it does add up. But again, we're giving ourselves grace. We are documenting and just making sure that we are aware. And then with that awareness, building out a plan so that we already know where our money is going before it even hits the account. So if you have any questions, let me know. If there's anything particular, like we were thinking about doing a grocery vlog. We've been thinking about doing a market vlog, like going to the local markets and showing y'all that experience and taking y'all with us. If you want to go on any of our weekend adventures with us or see what the spas look like, let me know. We're kind of just building and like sharing as we go, and it finally feels like we're calling Bangkok home. Like it actually feels like we're not just like clawing our way through every day. So we are heading to our cooking class. We need to head up out the door because it's about that's me when I was a little baby. But it's about 30 minutes away and it starts at 1:30. So we gonna get the heck up on out of here. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I will see you tomorrow, and happy August. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Peace.